want you to tell all your friends about me.
What are you?
I'm Batman.
It's not college basketball. It's clown time. Let's get ready to rumble. Feel the fires into the rear. It's nice and only know how to wear.
What is up, Friday Nighters? To another edition, another episode of Just Another Friday Night. I'm one of your two hosts, CM Chuck.
I'm AA, everyone.
That's Adamantium Adam, guys. Thanks so much for being here with us on Just. Indeed, it is a Friday here in San Antonio, Texas. Again, if you don't know who we are Just Another Friday Night, a pop culture podcast. We like to say we are South Texas and San Antonio's premier pop culture podcast with P Breaks live on Friday nights, right here on Facebook Live and YouTube Live. Some of you are joining us via our channel, Just Another Friday Night on YouTube. Some of you are joining us via the Collecting Weekly channel with all those fun Collecting Weekly guys. Great show last night from them on the movie night talking about X. Ooh, remember that Vin Diesel class?
It was a big hit, the first one.
Yeah, I remember. I think I might have seen it in
It's funny because I actually did see Pitch Black the other day.
How'd you feel about that?
I like that movie.
Still good?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was commenting to them. I was like, friends don't let friends quote Vin Diesel. Real quick, out of the gate, Toy Mafia in the house says, yo, what is up, Toy Mafia? Always a pleasure to see you guys here. And then our Pedro Lopez in the house. What's up, Pedro Lopez? I can see right here with my elven eyes. That is the very sexy Drew Barrymore old picture of her. So good one there. Pedro was also on last night with the
nice.
in the comments last night talking to the guys about X. He says he's a big fan.
Okay.
So you know, hey, to each their own, right? We all have our guilty pleasures, whatever you may call it.
But it was a hit.
It was a hit. I know, exactly. So
and I actually thought he was going to make a part 2, and when he said no, wow.
And Ice Cube came, right? Yeah, I remember that State of the Union. Ooh, I never saw that one.
That was a bad miscasting.
Yeah. I'm like, Ice Cube as an action guy.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Never seen it.
Real quick, guys, to get it out of the way, but I was gonna have some. He's not drinking tonight. But some of the Hulk Hogan beer, Real American Ale, love him or hate him, he does have a beer. So we know he got booed out of the building, right? Double A. What did you think about Netflix Raw on Netflix? Double A, what'd you think?
It was okay. It was fine. Different look, it seemed like, for sure. I heard this week's actually went like 2 hours and 40 minutes. That was going to be
neat. There's going to be no time.
So they said they can go like an hour, 40 minutes, you know, so.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's kind of neat that there's no time limits, because that makes you think you're less able to matches as a viewer. You're like, well, because you know they're going to go, they're either going to get 7 minutes, 9 minutes, 15 at the max. 15 is a long match. Good brother Joe is in the house. Joe says happy Friday. What's happy Friday, Joe? Glad to see you back in the chat. We always miss you, brother. Pedro Lopez gave me the booze. He said, yes, he's my childhood hero. Yeah, no, me too.
It was a lot for a lot of people.
Yeah, you know, despite what people do now.
He brought it onto himself.
Yeah.
He really has. The dude just has opened his mouth way too much.
And I will say this, it's not a bad beer.
And I'm not even talking about his politics.
So.
It's just there's been a lot of stuff that people have just gotten over with Hogan. You know, I mean, he lies about a lot of shit, you know, and people are like, why are you lying about that kind of stuff? You don't have to. You've had like one of the most amazing careers ever. Like no one ever has said, you know, that you need to make up shit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So,
and I feel like Double A, it does suck, you know, when these guys are your childhood heroes and you know, they end up doing these things, and you're like, you know, you're an adult, you're a person now that obviously thinks differently. But I have the ability, and I don't know if you have this ability, Double A. A lot of people that are in the realm of the things that we're into, of collecting things, you can transport yourself back to a time that when you did feel an innocence, when you did feel that this guy was. And I can remember I met the man and I shook his hand and he signed my shirt and he was hawking Church's hot chicken at the time or whatever. But it didn't change
for the event.
Yeah, it didn't change the fact that I was beside myself with glee, like wow, this is Hulk fucking Hogan. You know what I mean? So. You know, that is what many of us are trying to recapture, right? That put the childhood in a bottle. You know what I mean? Read a comic book about. Look at us, everyone that watched that Superman trailer. Not that long ago, everyone hating on Superman, whatever, right? All of this trailer comes out, all of us are looking up. You know what I mean? Like, man, that's like, you know what I mean. So, hey, you know what can you say, right? Man, Cielo, miedo, damn, I love that. I didn't get to see him. Did you get to see him?
It was a good match.
It was.
Chad Gable really gave him a really good match.
Yeah,
look at it if you can,
dude. I will watch it.
It's a hard no, but you'll be like Chad Gable was badass too.
Okay, okay. Well, you gotta have two guys, right? Two to tango. You gotta have a good dance.
And he did really good for him. So yeah, so it was a good match. Really good match.
Just as when it comes crashing down.
That's a perfect lyric for it.
Joe, I'll save you some for right here, Joe. I'll save you a can, buddy. Yeah, there you go. The superpowers, mega powers. Yeah, absolutely.
Dusty Rhodes in the key.
Dusty Rhodes, there you go. This new Penta guy is going to be a star in WWE. Yeah, brand new. Never heard of him before. Guys, we got a great show for you tonight. We actually have a guest in the house who's going to be talking with us about something that they created, which is always awesome to have someone that is a creator. Before we bring them on, though, real quick, we want to take a moment to rest in peace. Obviously, Bob Uecker passed.
Yeah, man, it's
iconic, hilarious.
Outside.
Yeah, wasn't he also in the Bud Light commercials too?
Yes, with John Goodman.
Yes,
yeah, I saw that one.
So Bob Uecker, just a classic, funny man, and apparently I didn't know he was an actual Brewers commentator, so that's pretty cool. And then a great filmmaker, David Lynch. I mean, if you love Mulholland Drive, if you loved
Blue Velvet, Twin Peaks,
Twin Peaks,
Dune, he did Dune.
What was the other one? Yeah, was that 7? He's 7, right? No, not 7.
No.
I'm thinking of other guy. Anyway, but David Lynch passed also. So R.I.P. to that guy. But I have a toast for him. So cheers to those two gentlemen that passed.
Yeah, there was a lot of outpouring for David Lynch, like a shitload of outpouring.
Yeah. I thought Colin McLaughlin had great things to say. He pretty much made his career, which hey, Blue Velvet, man, Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Talking about Dude.
Oh, damn, that's it. Yeah, they did like working together. Yeah. All right, guys, but without further ado, let me hit these comments.
Just hit the last two.
Where are the last two? Here we go. Dylan Bishop in the house. He says, "Yo, it's me, Sonic. What's up, Sonic? Appreciate you being here, bud." And then Joe says, "Where's Tito?" Dylan says, "Where's Tito?" And Joe says, "Bob Uecker, WWE Hall of Famer. He actually pitched for Milwaukee." Wow, I didn't know that.
Joe.
Pretty good, Joe. Good facts there. All right, guys. Without further ado, we're gonna bring in our guest tonight. Again, guys, we're talking about creator owned content right now. You know what I mean? Things that are from someone comes up with an idea and then they actually bring it to fruition, right? What do we say at the end of every show? We say, if you have a dream, make it happen. Do whatever it takes. Seize the day. This gentleman here obviously is living that right now. So we'll bring him on right now to talk with us. This is Mr. Deece Casillas. Deece, can you see us? Can you hear us?
Ooh. Yeah. What's up, guys? How y'all doing?
So doing well. Good sound. I can hear you perfectly, man.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Double A admiring your collection back there. Yeah.
Thank you. It keeps going and going.
Holy shit.
And going. Yeah. Going.
I've definitely trimmed down to about, it used to be 6 short boxes, but it's more like 9 now. So
yeah, fuck yeah. I got like I'm pushing over 30K individual comics.
Wow. Great stuff. Long time collector, it sounds like. When did you start collecting?
Well, I started collecting when I was like 9-10 years old, but I actually in 2010 my entire collection got stolen. I had to start over. So this is all just in the last 15 years.
Wow. You jump back in. That's what I did too. I sold my first collection. I jumped back in. Well, Deece, we've actually met before a couple times. You and Double A and I all met at Nas's show, C.A.S.A.
Okay.
You had a table and we had a table in the podcast section, and we walked around at the end and I know we exchanged some info. You started to follow us and we followed back. And not that long ago, I saw you again at one of the events that they were having at Wonderland. Me and my nephew went up to your table because the artwork of your book is just so unique that it caught my eye. And I saw your big banner, your Inferno Comics banner, and we talked a little bit. You gave me a rundown of what the book was about, and I was like, man, this sounds really interesting. And then not shortly after that, I saw you in the Alamo Stash Bin group where, I'm sure we all go fig hunting in that group here in San Antonio. And then you hit, when someone puts up a post that says plain as, hey, anybody have a podcast? It's like, hey, I have a podcast. We have a podcast, so that's when we chatted and now here we are. So again, I'm, Chuck, CM Chuck, Double A, you know what I mean? And again, I made sure to tell Double A it's Deece rhymes with Reese, not DC. Although I would think it was DC because, Deece Casillas, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I know, right? It's it's just Deece. That's everyone. Most people pronounce it DC, so I'm used to it. But yeah, it's Deece.
Okay, well, we'll try to get it right tonight, brother. But Deece,
Good.
tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Where are you from? Are you from here in San Antonio? Are you a local, a native?
No, I'm actually from Long Beach, California.
Nice.
Okay,
East Side
Cali
LBC,
guy.
shout out, holla. But I've lived in San Antonio for a couple years now, and love it, love it, love it. Probably one of my favorite places I've ever lived. I've lived a lot of places across this
What's
country
up a
and
little bit there?
internationally too. But man, I love San Antonio, and I came in grew up in LA, kind of bounced around a little bit in my mid-teens and ended up all over the place, and then was in Washington for a while, and now I'm here.
Right on, man. Right on. Good. Well, we're glad to have you. You know what I mean? San Antonio is a great town. You know, we love it. So
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan. I actually almost moved here so many times over the last 15 plus years. And then finally 2 years ago, I'm just like, you know what? I want to get out of Washington. It's too damn cold. I hate the snow. And found a house in San Antonio, bought a house and moved down here.
Right on, man. Right on. Right here we have our buddy Joe says, shout out Snoop Dogg LBC.
That's right.
We see you rocking the Dodgers cap. We happen to be Yankees fans, but you guys got it done. So
all right. Yeah.
Gotta give love. Gotta give love.
Good season, baby. Good season.
Yeah, it sure was.
No doubt. Deece, what else? Tell us a little bit about you kind of wear different hats, because not only are you a comic book writer and creator, but you do some stand-up from what I read in your bio.
Yeah, that's what I do for a living. That's how I pay my mortgage. That's my main job. I've been doing stand-up comedy for got almost 17 years now. So I've been doing it full-time for about 10 years or so now. So that's how I pay my bills. That's the gig.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah, thank you. And it I mean, it's been nice. Don't get me wrong, I love stand-up comedy, and I've it's a great career. I get to do something I love. I traveled all across the world doing it, and still doing it, just kind of not doing as much on the road as I was to focus on the comic book. But I mean, I've worked in writing in a lot of different fields. You know, I've wrote for some TV, film stuff, sketch. I wrote for a bunch of websites, comedy sites over the years. I published a book years ago. Comic books is just my true love, and finally decided to dive in and make it happen.
Dude, that's amazing. I mean, it definitely sounded like it. We both had a chance to read the book. Thank you for sending us that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
That was great, man. And I was gonna say there's some semi-light moments, but for the most part, that first issue is kind of heavy. You know what I mean? I was like, he says he's a stand-up. I was like, but this is kind of dark. I was like, damn, you know what I mean? So tell us a little bit, Deece, because I know you were looking for someone a podcast to come on. I want you to talk about what you want to talk about. You're promoting this fantastic book called Kill Stand. Tell us about Kill Stand. Tell us about your creation.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, you definitely get thrown in the deep end very quickly. There are, someone asked me, I get asked a lot when I do interviews. They're like, "Oh, you're a comedian. Is the book funny?" And I'm like, I wouldn't call it a comedy. There's humorous moments there's moments of levity. Yeah, but there's moments of levity because I think it's so intense. So so when you have those brief moments of levity, sucks it in real fast, and then boom, air goes right out of the room again. You know what I'm saying? Because of how intense it is. And that was my intent when I was writing this first issue, especially. I mean, the whole thing, but especially with number one, the word I kept ringing over and over in my head. With kind of the main tone I wanted was relentless. I wanted it to feel relentless. I wanted you to feel like when you were done reading it, your heart rate was up and you were holding your breath. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to give the reader an opportunity to pause and feel like there was a lull at all.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think you definitely accomplished that for sure. Real quick, because don't forget we're live, Deece, right now. So we're live on Facebook. On two different channels on YouTube. So we got, of course, questions come in throughout the show. So we'll try to hit them as they go along. But Joe says here, do you do shows in SA, or are you going to Austin with the comedy boom there?
I do shows in San Antonio. I do shows in Austin. I don't go to Austin a lot. I mean, I started comedy in Los Angeles, California. You know, it's one of the biggest meccas for comedy. I'm an established comedian. I'm a road comic. This is what I do for a living. Austin is for people who are trying to start or for people who are selling out arenas.
Okay.
I am neither of those. So it's a tough place when you're someone like me, who's kind of in the middle there. So, I mean, I go on the road, I headline clubs, I headline venues across the country, but Austin is really for people that are trying to start and for people who are already famous. If you're in the in between, you're just going to get lost and you're not going to get good stage time. It's just not worth it, you know.
Yeah, we're huge wrestlers to Deece, and so I've seen wrestlers, I've heard podcasts where they draw comparisons on how it's like that. You know what I mean? Like, or even acting, right? You can be a working actor. You're not necessarily, leading man, quote unquote, commanding, but you're consistently in things. And to me, I've always felt like that's where you want to be, right? That's the sweet spot, right? Continuous work, you know what I mean? And so that and again, by far, I think I've said, if someone were to ask me what are the two toughest performing arts, I would say A, professional wrestling, and number two, stand-up comedy. Because I did one or two open mics and I was out of my depth. Everyone that thinks they can do it, you can't do it. And I've tried professional wrestling school too, and everyone thinks they can do it, you can't do it. So,
oh man, I feel like that's just the like physical toll. You know, in stand-up comedy, you just have to be able to take a solar system's gravity of crushing soul pressure. You know, you just have to be able to have your soul crushed daily like an atom smasher. Whereas like in wrestling, you have to actually physically be able to take a pile driver. Like, listen, I'm Catholic. I can take as much emotional abuse as you throw at me, and I will be fine. I will choke it down and just fucking call someone a racial slur in traffic and feel better later. That's how we deal with it, but the physical abuse, that's a real thing,
No doubt. Yeah. And I realized I wasn't cut out for either. I was like, no, I don't want to rack up those therapy bills like that, or the physical therapy bills, right?
To be a rep for a camera guy, right?
Yeah, I just wanted to be like a rep for a camera guy, and even then they're like, well, you still got to learn.
You still have to take the
fall down because
they really make you go through it.
Yeah, no doubt. Real quick here, Dylan Bishop says, "Oh, do I need to read this?" Dylan, he says, "Hey, I have a dare for you guys." What is it, Dylan? He says, "The dare is for you guys to ask Tito a bunch about his upcoming customs." No idea who that is, but we'll come back to it if it comes up.
Right,
Tito, tell us about your upcoming customs. I know, yeah. But Deece, back to Kill Stan. Okay, so this is a little bit of a labor of love, right? Like you said, you've done a lot of different things, but now this book is out there. Had physical copies with you at your table at Wonderland, as you did when we were at C.A.S.A. So you're out there, you're promoting the book. You're Kickstarter funded. Talk to us a little bit about that. Tell us how the Kickstarter went and how it's going, because we both saw that you're already funded. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, well, the way it worked is the book was paid for and done. Number one was like, I just paid for it. I mean, out of pocket, I just paid because I'm like, listen, this book is happening one way or the other. So I'm going to make this book and then I'm going to bet on myself. I'll invest in myself. I'm going to make this thing happen. I mean, I had already sent it off to the printer and had hundreds of copies ordered before the Kickstarter even launched. Because again, this was a book. This is a labor of love. It was a passion project. Like, I believe in this book, and I'm like, I'm gonna make it happen. And I know once people read it, it's gonna work out. So then I launched the Kickstarter, and we fully funded in 5 days. We actually ended up about $2,000 over our goal, all said and done. And that allowed us to kind of push everything. Basically, I just moved all that money to pay for number two. And I'll just keep rolling it over. And then I've been at conventions all around Texas, doing shows all around. I've done shows in other states, travel to conventions to sell the book. I've got it in some stores around San Antonio. Dragon's Lair in Alamo Ranch is selling it. They've sold out of it 4 times now. Man. They can't keep it on the shelf. I actually brought them. I got my variant covers in for number 1, and I brought them variants because they'd sold out of everything else. And they sold out of those variants in 5 days. Wow. And the owner told me, people are coming and buying 2 copies of this thing.
Wow, that's great.
Buying every cover. Really Big Alpaca Comics.
That's gonna make you feel. That's gonna make you feel great, huh?
It's really amazing because I've been around comic books my entire life. I'm familiar with the economics of it and the plight of indie comics and how it works. I know guys that have been working on indie comics, and they get if they get a couple issues out in 7 years, that's a good clip. So, but I have this benefit where a couple things, like I have other passive income to where I can kind of sit and work on this right now. That was kind of by design to give me this latitude of freedom to spend this time committed to this. I took the money, invested into it, and I also have a background in marketing and sales, and I really put together what I would consider a pretty good marketing strategy to make this thing work. And I'm willing, I'm willing to go to comic book stores and I'm trying to sell it to them, and like I said, we've had people pick it up. Big Alpaca Comics in San Antonio also carries it. A couple places in Austin carry it. Tribe Comics in Austin, Titan Moon in Austin carries it. And I got booked to do so on the first Saturday of every May, they do free comic book day.
Yeah.
Well, I got booked to do a signing at a comic book shop on free comic book day. So I'm gonna, they're gonna have hundreds of people coming through the store that day, and I'm gonna be able to sell my book and do a signing and get it in a ton of people's hands that day, I think. So
that's gonna be, is that going to be here, or is that going to be somewhere else?
That's going to be actually Dragon's Lair in Alamo Ranch.
The Alamo Ranch. Okay.
Good
okay.
Deal.
Which is great because I really want to kind of represent San Antonio on this project and trying to have the goal is to make Inferno Comics a full-on brand with other creators. Other books. We cultivate a line of creator-owned books and help other independent artists launch their projects too, is my long-term goal. And I'd really like to focus on San Antonio and Latino-based emphasis on Latino-based creators with Inferno Comics is kind of the goal. So I've already got some other San Antonio creators, some artists I'm working with on some covers, and starting to cultivate that studio. So hopefully that pans out,
Yeah, no, man, that's great. You're doing, again, like we said kind of earlier, wearing multiple hats. You're not just promoting this book that you created and you're doing, but you've also got the Inferno Comics over, umbrella brand overhead, in addition to, your day-to-day stuff. But it does seem like you're really hyper focused on the book right now, which is great. Are you going to be anywhere this weekend for the book or with the book?
Yeah, I'll actually be at the Bibliotech.
Austin
tomorrow.
Nas is show.
Yeah. So Nas will be there, and I'll be there. I've got a table there tomorrow, and then where else am I doing some stuff? Doing a Heroes and Fantasies on 281 on March 1st is doing an indie comic in like a local independent creator show.
Nice.
I'll be doing that. Doing a show in Oklahoma in February. I'm all over the place. I'm going to Baltimore. I'm going up to Washington.
Yeah, wow.
I'm doing If there's a show I can get into, I'm taking the chance and going. So
that's great, man. Hey, we got to get some stickers in your hand for our podcast. You can hand make it as a good bookmark right there for the.
That's
book,
right.
Man.
There you go.
No, man, I love hearing that. That sounds great. It's awesome that you want Antonio doing it all. you know, because obviously, you know, you've lived your place, you could be repping anywhere, you know what I mean? But you know, I will say this, you know, when I read the book, and I told Double A this before he read it, I said, man, I said it's a lot better than some indie stuff I've read. That, you know, sometimes it's kind of a slow start or a slow burn, or the dialogue is kind of, you know, not necessarily there. And I'm all about a great story, but right away, he said you're plugged in right away with the action, with what's happening with this guy, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and I love the art. The art too reminded me of the the Garth Ennis one shot he did for Arseface. It was the story of you know who, but the art in that book reminded me of the art in your book right away when I saw it. And so right away, the artwork being great. Can you talk to us a little bit about the artwork and the artist that you worked with on it?
Yeah, so he's a guy named Felipe Sobreira. So Felipe is actually from Brazil, and he is a just phenomenally talented guy. I mean, I was really lucky to link up with this guy, and we have a great working relationship. He's doing the whole series with me.
Awesome.
So this is a 10-issue series. So he's on board for the whole thing contractually, and yeah, I mean, he just nailed it. I really, I solicited for artists on these, there's a bunch of forums and boards and stuff for independent creators. And I solicited for what I was looking for. I'm like, this is the vibe of the story. The tone I'm going for. Here's a couple art samples of artists I like that I kind of wanted to, you know, feel alike. And, you know, send me your portfolios and send me your page rates and let's talk. And Felipe sent me his information. You know, I loved what he did. We hopped on a Zoom call. We had a chat. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, we were on the same page creatively in what the expectations from each other for this book and what we wanted to do. Cause I really didn't want someone who's like, yeah, I'll do this book and then you'll see about the next one. This is a 10-issue series. I'm going to do this book. So I'm like, I need you to be on board for this thing, for the whole thing. I don't want to have to switch artists halfway through. I wanted to have a look, a complete look. And then he's been really easy to work with. I mean, the guy is amazing. You should see the pages I'm getting for number 2. I mean, I wrote some pretty detailed scenes that I had some trepidations about how he would be able to, not because he's not proven himself to be fantastic, but because any artist would be like, I'm like, this is kind of a lot. And he's sending me pages. And I'm like, holy shit, dude. I'm like, you are fucking out of this world. You just like, there was no correction. You just nailed it.
That's great. That's got to be great as a writer to be able to have that connection with someone that they can kind of like, almost like we've heard other writers say, like, kind of take a look inside your brain and be like, this is what you're going for. And it's like, dude, you got it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I was going to ask you too, like, how do you approach it with your artist, with Felipe? Do you know, are you like Claremont where he has like a whole detailed, you know, description of the pages like Alan Moore and Chris Claremont are? Or how do you go about it?
I'm not quite as detailed as Alan Moore, where I'm telling you which way the wind is blowing.
Yeah, exactly.
And, what the temperature outside is, and you know what girl in the scene is on her period at the moment, or whatever the fuck. Like, shit, I'm not that. But it's very detailed and meticulous because you know, I wanted this to like a movie, and so I was very specific about the scenes. You know, when I write my script, you know, it's like page 1, 4 panels. It's 4 symmetrical wide angle shots. On this panel, I'm very detailed. I go so far as to send breakdowns and thumbnail sketches and stuff to him. But you know, he's also really great at just coming back with just 100% taking my words and taking the direction and making it look as best as someone could.
That's awesome, man. No, that's really awesome. Because I wanted to ask you a little bit too. That was a great question, Double A. But you know, about, you know, Stan, you know what I mean? The Demon King, your primary character. He's got a very unique, you know, mask. And I was thinking to myself, how did he describe this? It's like a broken mask with like kind of like a rubber side on one side. and a crown. And I was like, did he come up with that? Did you come up with that? Did you tell him you wanted it to look like that? Like, how did that kind of come to fruition? And how would you describe that?
Yeah, I designed that his look, the whole look.
Okay.
And then yeah, what I did is I took a couple ideas I had. I took inspiration from these kind of horror-esque kabuki style Japanese masks, and kind of mashed a couple things up. Yeah, there you go. There it is. And created this design, and I wanted it to be striking and kind of have like a very unique, iconic look. And I think we achieved that by its part of its is its simplicity, I think, too. I think the stark white with the crown pops. And yeah. So yeah, I designed that, put that together, and then again, Felipe just makes it look amazing.
Absolutely. I mean, like the detail, the kills, I mean, that's great, but also it goes hand to hand with the writing, I think, too. You know, I don't want to give away too much because obviously we want people to pick up the book, but there's a part, you know what I mean, in Stan's, you know, thing. And I love that too. I love how you just call him just Stan. You know what I mean? Like later on, obviously the cops have a name for him or whatever, you know what I mean, which is very cool also. But I was like, I like him just being Stan. I like that. He's very, you know, he does. I love what he says. Don't even need a last name. You know, just call me Stan. But that's great, right? And then, you know, there's a part in the book, you know, where he finds this kind of appendage, right? And I mean, you know, I could see at that point, I was like, okay, where it's going to kind of change a little bit when that happened. I was almost a little bit like, man, it didn't even need that. Like it could have just kept going without that because I was already so engaged, you know. But I remember too when we Wonderland, and when you kind of gave me the premise, you know, you told me it was 10 issues. You told me, you know what I mean, that that it was funded, and I think you told me also that the premise, you know, and I'll let you pitch it like you kind of told me what's happening with Stan, why it's called Kill Stan, because I think that this is a very unique approach to a book that I hadn't heard of before.
Yeah, so I mean, on its surface, I always say it's like it's a neo-noir crime thriller. Like that's what it looks like, right? But really, what I'm tricking people into reading is a character piece about basically it's suicide by vigilantism. It's about a guy who wants to end his own life, so he decides to do it through vigilantism. But like I said, I mean, the reality is it's a character piece about loss, trauma, and the crazy things we do when we feel like we have nothing left to live for. So, you know, the appendage you're talking about and that thing, that is really like, that actually wasn't even added till later revisions of my script, because I had to find a reason to for a couple things. For one, I won't disclose yet, but I had to find a reason for him to for this to propel this cat and mouse chase that happens in the book. But again, really, that's the story you're actually stuck in is him. You're stuck in his head. You're stuck in his morbid desire to die, and kind of unraveling why that is, why he feels this way, how these things of being revered starting to be revered as a hero make him feel when he already feels so shitty about himself. You know, I mean, you're talking about he selfishly wants to die.
Yeah. And
then people start to look at him as a hero because of his actions, which just makes, you know, it just make you feel shittier, because you're like, I'm not being altruistic, right? This is selfish for me. So like there's this constant ripping at his soul of what he feels, and then along this battle. And it's again, you're really you're diving into the darkest depths of someone's psyche, not really an action thriller as you might think. You're going to get some of that, but I think if you really can dig into any subtext, you're going to find that there's a lot more there.
No, totally. And that's, you know, right there, that line you said, you know, suicide by vigilantism. I was like, oh, never before, you know what I mean? And table, I was like, sounds very interesting. You know what I mean? And so, of course, once I got a chance to dive into the book, I was like, okay, you know what I mean? Exactly what you just said right there. You know, here's a guy that's not by any means trying to be a hero. He's going at this selfishly. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like I don't have the balls to put the gun in my mouth or, you know, next to my head, but you know what, let me go out there and do this, whatever. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, and if it happens, it happens, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and hoping that it does, you know? So I was like, damn, that's pretty ballsy, you know what I mean? And pretty out there, you know, especially for right now. I was even worried doing the write-up and things like this for Facebook and all that. I was like, oh, is this going to get flagged? I don't want to put the S word, you know what I mean? Are we saying it right now? YouTube's going to kick us off, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I mean, hey, I mean, it's a fact of life. It's part of things or whatever, you know what I mean? So, and I feel like, you know, you're taking a unique approach to it. So,
yeah, I mean, you have to tackle heavy topics, I think, to really get people. The heavier the topic, the more you're going to get people involved and invested, because we've all felt, I'm not saying we've all felt that drastic, but we've all felt pretty shitty.
Oh,
and I think that pulls people into this humanness of it. And that's what I want. And I want, you know, you gotta swim through the darkest depths to find the fucking light. So
right. Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more, if you can, Deece, about Stan. I mean, I would imagine that there's a lot of you in Stan. Do you draw directly from your own personal experiences, or is it a little bit of like, yeah, some of your things, but other people, you know, things that they've gone through and they all create Stan? Or is this almost like is it like an Eminem B Rabbit thing? You know what I mean? In 8 Mile, it's pretty much the same story, but you just change the names, you know?
No, so this is very much, I would say, a conglomeration of my view of the world today, is what I would say. So I started writing this actually in right around the beginning of COVID. So somewhere around like April or May of 2020, something like that. And the January of 2020, my best friend, another comedian who we've been homies forever, actually took his own life. So, you know, that was on my mind. And then COVID happened, and I just watched, I mean, however you feel about COVID politically or socially or masks or vaccines, whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter. I think we can all agree that it fucked a lot of people up.
Yeah.
A lot of people, especially in the beginning, because people were, emotionally fucked up, spiritually fucked up, financially fucked up. You know, like people lost shit in ways that we never even could have dreamed. And I think I know to this day, a lot of people still never recovered from that. And a lot of people don't even realize they never recovered from that, because eventually you just get it just becomes life, and you just think you're doing life, but you never, you know, if you set it next to your life beforehand, you'd be like, oh, I fucking have some trauma going on right now, like that I've not dealt with. And that was my kind of a big part of it, is I just wanted to express that, like, I saw this general just blanket of depression and people giving up across the board on so much. And I really wanted to represent that in a story that people could understand, that like it doesn't always have to be like Batman, you know, like you're leaving a theater after you just saw Zorro with your parents.
Yeah.
Somebody shoots your parents in an alley, and now you want to fight crime. It could just be fucking life is hard, man. And you fucking feel like shit every day. Your job sucks. You can't afford rent. Eggs are $10 a dozen, you know, like you fucking, you know, it's you got no health insurance, you know, you got a fucking small dick, whatever. Life is hard. Life can be hard. And, you know, like I always say, the worst thing that ever happened to someone is still the worst thing that ever happened to them, you know? So like, what I mean by that is it's hard to compare, because like, you know, there's kids in fucking Gaza, right, that watch their parents get blown up and they got one arm and they're still, you know, still genocide, whatever. Like that's the worst thing that's ever happened to them, right? You know, and then there's people who live a good life in, you know, in a nice upper class neighborhood, and you know, maybe they didn't get into the college they wanted to go to, and that's the worst thing that's ever happened to them. Now, I'm not saying those two things are equal. If you could pick one from an outside looking in, you'd pick the college one. But like, also that person feels so bad because that could be the worst thing that's ever happened. Like that's their lowest. You know what I'm? Does this make sense?
Yes, absolutely makes sense.
Yes.
I have a very similar philosophy where the worst thing that happened to you, you know, is, like you said, that's your thing, right? Because it's like, well, yeah, the Gaza thing could have happened, but I don't really know that. For me, it's fuck, I got fired one time, you know what I mean? And
yeah, it's your lived experience.
You know what I mean?
You have to go by what is here in your lived experience. You know what I'm saying? And I wanted to make everyone feel like, you know, obviously we push that to an extreme with this story in a lot of ways. But like, I wanted everyone to feel like, man, you know, I don't need a big reason. I don't need a Gaza to feel like, man, shit's fucked up. And sometimes I can not feel good, and that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the ultimate, you know, shared human experience, right? Is that like, it's not your degree of suffering, it's that you're suffering. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, like you said, life is fucking hard. So no, that's a very good way to put it. Real quick, Dylan Bishop says, not gonna lie, I really can't tell who is who on this interview. Sorry to interrupt. Not interrupting, Dylan. Oh, we are AA and I are Just Another Friday Night, the podcast, and we are interviewing Mr. Deece over here, who's
the main headline there.
Right there, yeah. But check it out down there, yeah. And if I drop down the banners, our names are probably there. Let me see there, yeah. Well, nope, is that it? There it is. That's who's who. There you go. So for Dylan there, if you didn't know. And then real quick, just to get it out there, Joe says, hell of a premise. Definitely checking this out. So Joe, yeah, man, that's great to hear.
Yeah, Joe, go to inferno.earth on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram, and that's got the link to the second Kickstarter that's going to launch in a couple weeks. And also, if you want to get book number 1, just hit me up, and we can figure it out. I can send you a copy, and PayPal, Cash App, Venmo, whatever.
Dude, Deece, that sounds awesome for sure. I got to do that myself with you. But so Deece, let me ask you, Joe goes to get an issue right now. Are we still talking about like your first print run? Are these still first editions, or are you on alternate, you know, are we getting a different version now?
So it's the same book. We just went back to print with it because we've sold out the first print run, completely sold out. Second one is getting close. So the Kickstarter we're launching February 1st is for book number 2. So that'll run through for 30 days, and then we'll have book number 2 should release at the beginning of March. And but yeah, book number 1, I've still got copies of it. And we're going to do another, you know, I'll be doing another print run too soon, probably to accommodate more, you know, picking up more accounts around the country, people carrying it, and what we've been selling. So
no, man, that's great. You love to hear it. You love to see it, you know, the success of someone, you know, doing things locally and creator owned. I mean, this is your thing. I mean, obviously the bigs are out there, but then we hear the horror stories of the guys that, you know, create something and then they don't get to reap the benefits of that, and that sucks.
Yeah.
So it's much nicer for me to hear about someone like yourself that's making this, and then, you know, you get to, you know, kind of enjoy all the fruits of your labors. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Deece, tell us a little bit about yourself and comic books. I mean, you know, we read the back, you know, couple of pages where you talked about your love of it. Where does that start with? You know what I mean? Are you a Marvel guy? Are you a DC guy? Because this book feels to me like a Vertigo book, right? Which I think is a huge compliment. Because we love Vertigo.
We love the Vertigo.
Yeah, yeah.
I was like, oh, this feels very Vertigo right here, which is again a huge compliment. I mean, it could easily fit in. But what's your background? You know what I mean with that stuff? Where do you know what kind of comic book guy are you?
First of all, Joe Martinez, February 3rd at Upstage Comedy Lounge. I got a show. It's called the THC show, the Hilarious Comedy Show. What we do is we all do a set, then we possibly partake in something, and then we try to do comedy again. It is a hell of a show. We've been doing it for a couple months now, and we do it about once a month. So check it out. Hit me up if you want tickets. Or go to Deece.comedy on Instagram. You can hit me up there. Or, like I said, Inferno.earth. I run both those Instagram pages. So I'll get you a comic book and tickets. I'll have the comic book at the show also. I sell it as merch. So
and Joe, give Deece a follow also here on the old
Yeah.
Instagram. But yeah, for sure. Deece, I can tell you you're preaching to the right audience there with Joe. That is right up his alley.
Yeah, it's a hell of a show. So it's fun. I used to do this. It sounds
fun.
Well, yeah, if you guys want to come, I'll get you guys tickets. But we what were we saying? What were we asking? Oh, Marvel DC. So I grew up reading Marvel comics. I was a Marvel comic guy. I mean, I read some DC, but also I was kind of like just beholden to whatever the 7-Eleven by my house had on the rack. Right. So, that, because that's the way I bought comic books when I was a kid. I grew up in the 80s. So you'd go down to 7-Eleven and you just bought what they had, or maybe they had a spinner rack by the pharmacy at the grocery store, and you kind of like whatever they had was what they had. I didn't know comic books when they came out, and I just would go and I'd sit there and read them, or if I had money, I'd buy them. And yeah, grew up reading Marvel, and then, I read some DC, obviously in the 90s. Image came along. And then somewhere along the way, I graduated to, other stuff. You're talking like Vertigo comic books and things like that, where you start to it opens your eyes as to what you can do in comic books, because this is, people think of comic books and they think superheroes, right? And I'm always like, no, superheroes is a genre. Comic books is a medium. Superheroes is a genre in that medium. Granted, it's the largest genre. It's probably 80% of the medium, but there's so much other shit you can do, And when I started reading these other books and realizing these other things you could do, and it opened up my eyes, and I'm like, oh, I always want to write comic books, but I'm like, oh, I want to write comic books like this. I want to write something that is not just this ongoing hero of the month, villain of the month saga, Yeah. So,
right. No, absolutely.
I was a big X-Men guy as a kid. Read all that stuff, Claremont X-Men, which is probably part of how I fell in love with writing character depth, because it's kind of what Claremont was into.
Yeah.
So, and really building a full character arc. Like, the character was the important part. I didn't care about the last 5 pages when there was a fight. That's fucking boring. Like, like, let me guess, the good guy's gonna win. He's on the cover for the next book. I'm guessing he survives. So yeah.
No, it's so funny you say that, Deece, because I kind of think the same way. Like, I tell AA, I'm always interested when I see, like, oh shit, Wonder Woman and Superman and Batman had hamburgers together. Like, I want to get that issue. You know what I mean? Like, Superman tells a story about this cat he had before crypto, and I'm like, I want to read that issue because I care so much about like things happening. Like, my all-time favorite book is a Vertigo book, Preacher by Garth Ennis.
Very good.
And I just love that book so much because it's so focused on characters. The things that are happening that are supernatural and outside of the norm are kind of subsequent to the character story. So again, like I said, right away, I felt like, if I could get hooked into Stan, then it was going to work for me. I was like, oh, I could see this, working because it's got that going for it already. So absolutely. Did you have a favorite superhero though? Was there a guy you related to? I feel like you might be like a Punisher, Daredevil guy, but I could be wrong.
That's so funny because like growing up, I didn't really read any Punisher or Daredevil. I mean, I probably didn't start reading Punisher or Daredevil until like the late 90s, early 2000s when the Marvel Knights series came around. Like they rebooted Punisher and Daredevil, and then Garth Ennis started writing Punisher, and I read all that and I fucking loved it. But
amazing.
That, growing up, that wasn't my thing. Like, growing up, as a kid, I read X-Men and X-Men related stuff, and I liked D-list characters. Like, I read like Avengers West Coast, or I liked Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm not talking the one you kids know in the movies today. there used to be a book called Guardians of the Galaxy, and it was based in the year 3000. And it was like these futuristic characters. They had nothing to do with the Marvel, and I like stuff like that. But yeah, as I got older, I got into more, I think, Punisher, Daredevil, things like that. But really it wasn't the characters, it was the writing, because like Brian Michael Bendis started writing Daredevil, and his run on Daredevil to me is one of the best things in comic books ever. And they, he was followed up by Ed Brubaker, Bendis, Greg Rucka, those guys, that kind of like very character driven crime series writers are some of my favorite in comic books. Probably with like some Joe Casey and Mark Millar mixed in there too. So
no, totally. No, all good stuff, man. Besides obviously your collection that's right behind you. I mean, I feel kind of dumb asking, but is there something you're reading currently, something that's keeping you engaged? Like, is there something that when you drop off books at Dragon's Lair, are you picking something up? You know what I mean? Maybe one title. I know it sounds like you're super busy, so you probably don't have a lot of time to read comic books, but is there something that you're like, man, I got to get that this month and check it out?
No, believe me, I still make time to read comic books. I probably
great. I would hope so.
Yeah. I probably read like that. This is my morning ritual. I wake up around 7 o'clock. I make a pot of coffee. I drink coffee, and like I will read either part of a trade paperback or a couple new comic books. And then I will, like, I stretch, go to the gym, and then I start my day. Like, that's my that's pretty much every morning. So the new stuff that's coming out, honestly, there's not a ton of new stuff that comes out that I'm digging a lot. I will say the new Absolute Batman's really good. The Absolute Batman, if you haven't read it, I highly suggest it. It's very good. The new Absolute Wonder Woman's very good. People love the Absolute Superman. It's fine. It didn't hit me like it did other people, but I think the Wonder Woman and Batman are good. Ultimate Spider-Man's very good. The new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is very good. There's a book from Image called Blood Squad 7 by Joe Casey that I'm loving. A book just ended, went on hiatus for a while, but by Tim Seeley and Tony Fleeks, called Local Man from Image. That was very good. The Redeemers by Rick Remender at Image is a really great book. Those are some of the new ones that I'm still interested in.
Okay.
But
good list. You're picking up a little stack when you go.
yeah. I've got and I still collect, like, I still buy the monthly X-Men stuff just because I'm like, but I kind of breeze through it. I don't really read it that much. It depends on the issue, but I still collect them because I gotta.
Oh, I hear you, brother. I'm in the same boat too. I've got a stack of things I've got to read, and I just keep buying stuff, and I'm like, I'll read this eventually. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
well,
I know Double A's reading the new.
Oh, go ahead. What are you reading?
No, that's a Double A's reading the New Gods, right?
Yeah, New Gods.
Yeah.
How is it?
He said
I like it so far. I really do. Mr. Miracle's pretty heavily in it, and Orion. So I like those two characters a lot. So they're pretty heavy into it.
I pre-ordered the new #1 off some site months ago, and then I just realized they never shipped it to me. I got to hit them up about it. Did you read the Mr. Miracle by Tom King?
Yes, I did. Yes. What a great 12 part arc that is.
Yeah.
He read it. He got me to read it. I got a copy for Christmas. I asked for, because I just loved it so much after I read his trade, and I was like, man, what a great
perfect.
story.
It was just really good.
Even the way the panels are set up, right? Like all even, all like, I was like, oh, this is very different, you know what I mean? But heavy, but also light and kind of beautiful. I mean,
I'm not gonna lie, that's what the Kill Stan issue 1 kind of reminded me of a little bit, with some Mr. Miracle Tom King.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Some of the things that Stan is feeling, that Mr. Miracle is kind of feeling. Obviously, in in the beginning of that Mr. Miracle, he's on the floor.
Yeah.
Where he's trying to commit suicide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God, I guess I never even thought about that, but yeah, that's I mean, Tom King is so good at like humanizing his characters.
Yeah, he is.
And that's taking these really extreme characters and making them very, very human. And that's kind of what one thing I tried very hard to do is just make these characters very easily relatable and open them up to where you can just be like, oh, I totally see you. I understand.
Yeah, which again, I really like, because like you were talking about earlier, it's like there's things people go through, that in your 20s, your early 20s were really good, but then your later 20s kind of suck.
Yeah.
But then your 30s are good, but then maybe somewhere along the way, there's some shit that weighs you down. So
you never know, man.
So.
I mean, it happens, and it happens to everyone. And I think people are so disconnected from each other that they have a hard time opening up and conveying when it is happening. So, if maybe this is a conduit for people to open up to themselves, to be able to open up in general, to start processing whatever it is they need to feel and through.
Which it was very enjoyable. It really was. It was very, very enjoyable.
Yeah, man. I got my fingers crossed for hopefully good things happen for Stan. Not necessarily the things he wants to happen to himself, but I'm already kind of endeared to him, and I'm like, shit.
The arm thing, it's got me already.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh shit. Okay.
Yeah.
What the hell are those guys doing with that shit, man? And what's it gonna come to play with later? So.
Yeah, this is all going somewhere. You got 10 issues to figure this out. We get it's incremental as we go, as we start putting these pieces together, and the way it all comes together, and what it means for him and what it represents, and how it see how it shakes out in the end for him.
Very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, very exciting, man. Deece, we can't say enough, man, about just, again, something that we pitch at the end of every one of our shows. We tell our audience, we tell them, hey, seize the day, right? Carpe diem, you know what I mean? And we also tell them, hey, do whatever it takes to get to that goal, that dream, whatever it may be. And obviously, it sounds like you've led a hell of a life, done a lot of cool things already, but this thing was kind of your always, this thing that you really wanted to do. And now it exists. Kill Stan is a thing. It's a comic book. It's out there, man. I mean, people hold it in their hands. People are buying it at a comic book store off a rack, which is to us
that's amazing.
The coolest thing you could do. You know what I mean? Some people want to climb, a big ass mountain, but for us, I mean, if we could ever see our names in print on a book on a shelf, it'd be like, damn, that's really, really awesome.
Believe me, man. If I could go back in time and tell the 10-year-old me, they're like, no, one day there's going to be a comic book on a rack and people will be buying multiple copies of it. I would have just, that would have been all I needed to hear back then, to be like, okay, let's go. So
absolutely, man. Yeah.
It was the thing where it's all, I always wanted to do it. And I finally just did it and went for it. And like you said, carpe diem, man. I encourage anyone to take that plunge, bet on yourself, and it's never too late to take a chance, pivot, and decide to do something else, or be someone else, or go somewhere else. Do why not? It's for this. There's no reason not to.
Yeah,
no doubt, man. Well, we don't want to take up too much of your time, Deece. You got things to do too, and so we want you to get back out there. We want you to get to plugging away on some more Stan stuff for us. I for one, I love that you have obviously a beginning and an end in mind. Although I already like Stan, and I hope that 10 issues is maybe just the first arc. I'm hoping. I don't know what's going to happen to him, but also too, I just want to say congrats on the book, man, and congrats on Inferno. I hope that there will be many other San Antonio creators that get the chance to get involved, because I think there's a lot of talent in this town, and it doesn't necessarily have a place to be highlighted. So if they can find a place and an outlet, then that's great. And I also hope that the book does things for people that are maybe having similar thoughts or similar troubles. They find someone that they can relate to and find a character that they can, like you said, find an outlet for. That would be an amazing, I think, add on to everything else. Double A, anything you want to?
Yeah, because I mean, like comic books an escape, right? So I mean, show them something, that everyone can do. But yeah, the comic was very, very engaging, like you said, from start to finish. I have many questions. Obviously, I don't want to know anything. I want to keep reading it. But I mean, already I have like 3 or 4 questions. Like, oh shit, what's with this? What's with that?
Right.
So
Yeah,
very exciting. The book is really good. It's really drawn very beautifully. It's really well written. So,
well, please tell best thing anyone can do is, for you guys or anyone else who's read it is tell a friend, recommend it to a friend. If you have a copy, buy it or buy them a copy, something, let them know where they can get it, or send them my information so they can get a copy. And, I mean, we're not in Diamond Distributor. We're not getting big promotion. This is all boots on the ground. I mean, it's working, but the more other people tell friends about it, the more we can grow this thing.
Hey, it worked for Eastman and Laird, right? I mean, a book about turtles,
That's
right?
Yeah. I mean, that is my bellwether that I always use as like what how this thing does and can work for people if you do the right thing at the right time and pursue it correctly. So
absolutely, Deece. So I want to give you a chance too, man, to plug, promote yourself, your comedy, the book, anything else. I got the website up here. Is that the best place? And I'll throw the IG back up also. But by all means, let us know the things you want us to know, so we can get people moved over to the book.
Yeah. So we'll talk about the comic book first. Go to our website is inferno.earth. There is no .com. Too many porn sites now. So the domain is just .earth. It's inferno.earth. That's the website that gets you to all our links. If you guys would please follow us on Instagram, inferno.earth on Instagram. We are applying to conventions all across the country. Some of them you do have to actually apply, and they look at applications. So the more followers we have on social media, the better it looks, the bigger, the bigger conventions we get into. So please follow us on Instagram, inferno.earth. It makes a big difference. And also message us if you've read the book with the review, or if you want a copy of the book, you can buy it on the website. But the cheapest way, if you contact me directly, we can figure out payment, and I can mail it to you, and it's a little cheaper that way than buying it through my website also. And you'll get it faster because I'll mail it next day. Otherwise I got to run reports and it takes a week. Also on the Instagram is our Kickstarter for number 2, which starts February 1st and is going to run for 30 days. We've got some exclusive covers that you can only get if you are a backer on the Kickstarter. The ones we did for the first Kickstarter went fast, and when Netflix buys this, those are going to be worth a lot of money. So don't miss out on those number 2's exclusive covers. Okay. But it does help, again, helps us a lot with the algorithm when we launch the Kickstarter. If the more follows we have on the pre-launch page, the higher up in the algorithm we go when we launch. So, which means more people see it, we fund faster, all that looks better. So if you have a Kickstarter account, or if you want to go just log in, create one, follow us on Kickstarter. You don't have to even support the book when it launches, but just the follows helps a ton on the pre-launch page. And then as for comedy, you can follow me on Instagram at deece.comedy, or deececomedy.com is my website. Tour dates are on there. Tour dates are a little slim the next couple months. I'm not doing more local stuff really as I promote this comic book. Later in the year, I'm going to be all over the place, all over the country again, doing shows. When I say February 3rd, though, I will be at Upstage Comedy Lounge doing the THC show. So if you want some tickets, hit me up, and I'll get you guys some tickets to that show too. It's a very fun show. You never know what's going to happen when we get these comedians fucking blaze out of their minds.
We love to see it, Deece. We love to hear it. Hey, man, thank you so much for taking time out. I'm going to be in contact with you. I want a copy of the book. Want you to put the old John Hancock on there
Yeah,
for
you
me.
know it. Yeah.
What's your next local thing you're going to be at in San Antonio? Are you doing another Wonderland show? Are you doing one of the other cons coming and like that soon?
Well, like I said, tomorrow I'll be at Bibliotech, the comic convention at Bibliotech, which is East Florida, the library EDU on East Flores or something.
Right. Yes. Okay.
Yes, so I'll be doing that tomorrow, the 18th. That's from 11 to 4. So if you're in San Antonio, come through. You can get a copy there. I've got a couple of these variants left. I made these red foil blood dripping variants.
I saw that one. Yeah, we're gonna post that during the week, throughout the week. Yeah.
Those I only have a couple of those left. Those things sold so goddamn fast. So come down and get one. Next weekend I will be at Wonderland, the 25th and the 26th. And then that's it in San Antonio for a little while. I usually try to do those Wonderland shows if I'm not on the road for comedy or another convention. If I'm home and they have a show going, I'll usually go do at least one day. Try to sell some books, move a little product.
Those shows are always fun. Yeah,
they're great. I live near there. It's a low barrier to entry, and I usually do pretty well. I mean, last weekend I did there. We sold almost 30 books in a weekend.
Damn.
So
right on, man. Great. Yeah. That's great.
So, yeah, it's been good. But you can find the Bibliotech tomorrow, and then Wonderland next weekend. And Joe, favorite comedian ever? Yes, it is Norm Macdonald. Rest in peace.
Very nice.
R.I.P. Norm. Nice. Great answer, Deece. Well, on that note, good one. I bring a comic book guy on for Joe, and then Joe asks all about comedy. So you know what I mean. What are you gonna do, right, Deece? Can we ask you a favor, man? When Kill.S.A is all done, when all 10 books are out there, will you come back and talk to it about us and answer our questions?
Yes, absolutely. We'll do Q&A. You can ask anything. We'll figure out. We'll hash it out. Anything you want to know, anything you didn't get answered or you thought was going a certain way, we'll make it right for you.
All right, man. Sounds like a great plan. Hey, man, we really appreciate you again. Thanks so much, Deece. We can't wait to talk to you again soon and hopefully see you out in the circuit. We're usually out there and stuff. And I'll bring you some stickers from Just Another Friday Night. And I got buttons and shit too. So I'll give you a little swag bag and then I want to pick up. I want to get me a red foil book, get a signature on.
Yeah, let me know, man. We'll get you hooked up.
All right, brother. We appreciate you, man. Hey, have a good night and we'll see you soon. Best of luck with the book.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, take care.
All right, Deece. Later, brother. Guys, that's Deece Casillas, creator of Kill.S.A, out there right now, man, making moves, creating comic books. What the dream, right?
Yeah,
AA, that's the dream, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes me and AA are talking and we're just telling each other, like, what would you do if you could write Superman? What would you do if you could write? What character would you want to take somewhere? And here's someone doing it. You know what I mean? What did you just tell me 2 weeks ago, AA? You were like, what Rob Liefeld was saying, that there are no more
original characters. Like he was like, name like a character that's popular right now that is not a derivative. Meaning you can't tell me Miles because he's just Spider-Man.
Right. He's
you know what I mean?
Spider-Man.
He's still under the name of Spider-Man.
Right.
Somebody was like Punchline. It was like, well, she's a derivative of Harley and Joker.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's kind of like, what is there? Like in the 90s, you had Jim Lee creating like Gambit, Omega Red. You had Liefeld creating Deadpool, Cable, Shatterstar, Domino. You had people, Image, you had Tom McFarlane creating Spawn, Violator.
Right.
All this other stuff, So
yeah, I tried to even tell AA, I was like, well, what about like, Invincible? And he's like, that's not new though. That's really like 20 years old.
That's 20 years old, but
true.
Still, even then Robert Kirkman comes in with like Walking Dead and Invincible,
right.
So
right. But like, look at even what Deece said. You know what I mean? It's like what are you reading right now? Well, he named a lot of books, but some of the things that are still there because we kind of keep going back to the well. Absolute Batman, absolute Superman, Ultimate Spider-Man. It's like,
but that's what they're pushing.
Yeah,
it's not for the lack of trying. I read somewhere that the Bat family has like about 7 or 9 books.
Yeah,
for DC
that's
alone.
Insane.
Like you're talking about Nightwing, Batgirl. Birds of Prey, Batman, absolute Batman,
right.
It's
probably
like
Batgirl,
Robin,
I imagine.
it's
Nightwing,
it's like it's just all related to the Bat family. Like DC is not even trying to push really anyone else anymore. It's Batman's our golden goose, so we're just going to be releasing the Bat Family titles. You know, so,
and you can't blame them for that. But
you can't, but especially with the way it is now, it's not really like the way it used to be.
No,
you know?
not at all. And it's refreshing to see a creator creating a new content with an entirely new character that's kind of not like anything else. Yeah, we made some comparisons. I mean, but that's minimal.
Well, you know how Claremont was just popping out with new characters almost every year.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Yeah, so
that's the foundation that we have now, that we have these characters that come out. You know what I mean? Real quick, Joe says February 3rd we'll be there. Joe, love to hear it. Pablo says, great interview. Pedro, thank you, Pedro. We appreciate that, brother. Thank you for watching and hanging out with us. Joe says, great.
Yeah, we met him at the comic show that we did. So that was cool.
Gun Honey. Oh, I don't know that one. Pedro.
But he was saying like someone that's like blowing up. I guess that how Venom. When Venom came out, Venom was like, man, everybody fell in love with
or
Venom.
Spawn. Like everybody knew Spawn.
Like everyone, like that
out,
comic
like,
sold 1.7 million copies. You know, it was like, whoa.
Right.
And then it wasn't too long after that, you had, the cartoon and you had the movie.
Yeah.
Or like Ninja Turtles pop out. Not too long after that, the cartoon, the movie comes out.
That you know what I mean?
Like,
they were like so original at the time. You know what I mean? Even though somebody potentially could say they were derivatives of Daredevil, but not really. You know what I mean? Yeah, no.
Like within a year or two, I mean, it's like people knew him. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what he was asking. Like when Deadpool came out, Deadpool was super popular. When Cable Death came out, that was like the most baddest X-Men that had came out since like Wolverine. Yeah, you know what I mean? It was like, and that's what he was kind of asking. He was kind of like, where, people kind of just want to keep coming out with this Spider-Man. Scarlet Spider. Miles Morales Spider.
They just did Spider Boy. I'm like, do we need Spider Boy after we just got Miles? Like, okay, we got a young Spider-Man. Now you're giving us a younger Spider-Man. But tell me, Pedro, who is Gun Honey? Who makes that book? Who is that character? Let me know real quick. Anything else you want to touch on, Double A, before we get out of here? Great interview again. Thank you.
Thank you, Deece,
guys,
for coming out.
Go check out Kill Stan. Let me throw up the website again for you guys, so you guys can go show some love and some support to him. We definitely want to be loving and supporting. Maybe in one of Deece's books he'll have his characters go on a podcast called Just Another Friday Night. There you go. Free plug there. Guys, go check out www.inferno.earth. Remember, not.com. It's inferno.earth. There's where you can see the Kickstarter. There's some great panels and pictures of the book, Kill Stan. Again, it was a really fun read. It reminded me of, even the art of the story of who from Garth Ennis.
Like I said, it grabs you right away in the beginning, it has a great middle, and it kind of leaves you like, holy shit, like when is issue 2 going to come out?
Exactly. Which is, I mean, that's exactly the feeling you want to create with your audience, right? Also, they've got an Instagram, inferno.earth, and you can get all your Kill Stan information there. But I mean, like, again,
he's going to be at the the Biblioteca tomorrow.
Yeah, I think I might want to try to stop by.
And he'll be at the Wonderland Mall next Saturday too.
For sure, guys. So definitely go show some love and support. Someone that's not from San Antonio but's willing to rep San Antonio is always badass. So we certainly appreciate that. He's living here and living in this scene. So I mean, that's cool. Anything else, Double A, that you wanted to touch on?
Just have a great 3-day weekend.
Yeah,
for everybody that has a 3-day weekend.
Yes.
Stay warm next week. It's going to be super cold. We're going to get a hard freeze if you're in the Texas. Well, I guess all over the country.
Probably all over. Right?
You're going to get a hard freeze. So.
Yeah, don't forget the reason for Monday, Dr. Martin Luther King Day, Day of Remembrance.
And obviously the inauguration.
Yeah.
New president coming. So
interesting crossover of timelines there. But right.
Whole new leadership.
Yeah, Inauguration Day and Martin Luther King Day, Dr. Martin Luther King.
And if you're going to go marching on Martin Luther King Day, dress warm,
bundle up.
It's going to be fucking cold.
Very cold.
Because we have the largest march.
I think we have. It's either the largest or second. It's large.
It's the largest.
It's the largest now. Wow,
it's the largest Martin Luther King march that
right here in San Antonio, Texas. Guys.
Which I'm like, was he ever here?
I don't know.
I mean, awesome. Awesome.
But amazing to have that here. Didn't one year we had Coretta? Coretta came 1 year, I think.
That's for sure.
Martin Luther King's wife. So pretty interesting. I got nothing else.
No, I got nothing.
Yeah, guys,
stay warm. Have a great
stay warm. Thank you so much for chilling with us and kicking it and listening to Deece talk about his book, which is a lot of fun. And we invite you guys to go check out.
It's just cool. I mean, obviously you hear it selling. So I mean,
And I mean, like, again, I'd love to do that. That sounds incredibly hard, you know what I mean? But shoot, I'd love to do that. But I got to think of the character first, right? You got to think of your own character first, right? How hard is that? You know what I mean? It's super hard, not easy, not easy. Pedro says thanks, Pedro. Thank you so much too for joining us. Anything else, Double A?
No, let's close out.
All right, guys. And something we like to say at the end of every show, we kind of mentioned it throughout the show, at the beginning, in the middle, and at the end now. Is that good journey, good journey,
Good journey.
And we'd like to say, to remind you all, guys, if there's something that you want to do, something that you want to accomplish, a hope, a dream, get out there and do it, guys. There's no time like the present. Seize the day, right? Double A.
Yeah,
Carpe diem. Obviously, our good friend Deece did that. He went out there. He wanted to make a comic book. He wanted to make a comic book about a kind of a controversial topic, obviously, so that not everyone wants to talk about. But he went out there and did it. Cheers, Joe. He went out there and did it. He created Kill Stand #1 out now. Go get it at your local comic book store. Go get it at www.inferno.earth if you can't get it at your local comic book store. So obviously Deece is doing the thing with Stan. Kill Stan. The other thing we'd like to remind you guys is to quote the great Captain Steve Rogers in Endgame when he reminds the Avengers before they go back on the time heist that in order to accomplish their goal, they must do whatever it takes, guys. So we invite all of you to also do whatever it takes, guys. Seize the day. Do whatever it takes. Guys, I'm CM Chuck.
I'm Double A.
That's Adamantium Adam, guys. We are Just Another Friday Night, San Antonio's premier pop culture podcast with P Breaks, live on Friday nights on Facebook Live and YouTube Live, either via our channel, Just Another Friday Night, or Collecting Weekly's channel. Guys, thank you so much for being with us. We will be back next week, next Friday. Hopefully not too cold on that Friday, right?
It's going to be cold.
It's going to be cold?
Yeah, it's going to be cold.
I wore my warm clothes today. I'll wear my warm clothes next week. Me and Double A will be here. We have some really fun things, interesting things to come up and talk to you about. If you guys didn't know, this is our last episode of season 9. Nice. So this is our 225th episode. So next week we'll be at 251. Damn. So no,
226.
226. Math, not strong. All right, guys. Have a good night. Stay safe, stay warm, and happy birthday. Dr. Martin Luther King. Ooh, happy Dr. Martin Luther King Day. All right. Good night, guys. See you next week.